Welcome to the Hardwood Hustle, powered by PGC Basketball. We believe in the value of a coach. We're here to educate, empower, and encourage you to lead like never before. Each season brings a unique set of challenges and experiences. While we know there will be ups and downs, how are we preparing to be at our best this upcoming season? This week, TJ and Sam discuss the mindset and preparation needed to create and implement a plan of action to ensure you're consistently improving for your players and ready to coach your best season yet. Let's get started.
Coaches, welcome to the Hardwood Hustle. I am excited about today's topic because, it's sitting heavy on my heart. It's sitting front of mind. And I think it's crucial going into the season that you have the right mindset. And I think a lot of coaches go in with the wrong mindset. So we're going to talk about perspective and ways you can enter the season better than you've ever entered it before. I was recently listening to a gentleman talk, and he had about 50 years in higher education, and I think he was entering his 53rd year of higher education, and he was speaking to us, and he was 34 years as a president at a university in the South here. He had been a professor at multiple different colleges, and I thought his message was really, really timely, and I think it was really a message that would resonate or should resonate with coaches. And the message is this. It's going to be his 53rd or 54th time around the track. He's going to give an opening to school speech. He's going to welcome the faculty for the first time. He's going to, and then he related it down to professors and coaches and teachers. You're going to do this for the 5th time or the 15th time or the 50th time. I don't know what time it's going to be for you, but here's what I do know. It's going to be the first time around the track or the second time around the track for the students that you have coming into your school. And when I think about coaches coming into their season, if you've been in coaching 20 years, you can be jaded, right? And now there's advantages to being a 20, 30, 40-year coach is wisdom, experience. You've learned a ton. But you can also become stale. You can also become stagnant. You can also become a little bit jaded in the way that you do things and forget how important what you do is, and that this is somebody's first time around the track, second time around the track. They haven't heard you talk about the importance of whether it's your culture or player development or whatever it is that you're going to talk about. They haven't been down this road. So, Sam, today we're going to talk about how do coaches enter the season with the right mindset? How do they come? We've shared this quote many a times. Some coaches coach 30 seasons. Some coaches coach one season 30 times. They just do the same thing over and over and over again. And they don't treat it like the first time around the track. They don't have the same energy. They haven't gained the knowledge and improved everybody else's first time around the track. So let's talk about how coaches can go in with the right mindset. We're getting prepared, maybe a couple months away from the season, depending on when you're listening to this. But getting your mind right first is important. And how do we do that? How do we go about making sure that this season is our best season ever?
Yeah, I think it starts with just that. It's a growth mindset, and a mindset that says this season can be different and can be better. And that can even be coming off, you won a championship. Maybe you won the national championship, and you're coming in saying, hey, this is a new year. There's an opportunity for new opportunities. There's an opportunity for new growth, new learnings. This morning, TJ, I read this quote from Adam Grant, whose book I've read. He's a really good thought leader kind of guy. And he said, quote, "That's just the way I am," quote, "it is a missed opportunity for growth. Personality is not your destiny, it's your tendency. No one is limited to a single way of thinking, feeling, or acting. Who you become is not about the traits you have, it's what you decide to do with them." And I think that quote kind of summarizes a little bit of what we're talking about here starting off, which as a coach, you're going to be coaching players probably you had last year. Some of those players you enjoyed the crap mess out of coaching. Some of them might have been a challenge to coach. We got to drop those at the door. And that last year was last year. And you as a coach, you coached last year, and how you coached last year was last year. And every new season, is a new beginning. So I know we're going to talk about some tangible ways, but I think that's the big picture one, is come in with an expectation, a belief system that says this is a new year. There's new opportunities in front of us.
I think there's a lot of parts to this, Sam. One is just the recharge, the rejuice. I love Don Meyer in the video that I watch often of him where he says, I brought the juice. I brought the juice every day. And I think, honestly, most of us as coaches do come to the first week, the first practice, the first whatever, with a rejuvenated sense, with some juice. Now, there's a lot of coaches, and many times rightfully so, that may be low on energy. Batteries may be drained a little bit, may not come with the right perspective. And so the first step to me is making sure that you bring in the juice, making sure that you are ready for that year. However, I do think a lot of people do, they maybe had the summer off or whatever, and they're ready to get going again. A second part of this is, applying wisdom so that this time around the track for you, you're better than you've ever been. So I think back, Sam, to when we first started coaching, and I'm almost embarrassed by the players that we coached, not the players ourselves, the job that we did, and specifically me, that, man, I was just so not equipped, so not ready, there were so many things I had to learn, so many things I would have done different. Now, that's okay. Most coaches should have that feeling because that means you're getting better. The thing that you can't go in with is the same thing that you had the year before. Well, I already know it all. I know my system. I know my plan. This is just what we're going to do. You've got to be better than you were last year, and definitely got to be better than you were 10 or 15 years ago. And so are you ready to come in better than you were the year before with more juice than you've ever had? And I think that takes a lot of preparation and a lot of work to get to that place. And then we can go on to this a little bit later, but the next part of this is, how do I make sure that I keep running my lap as good as I've ever run it before? How do I make sure that I maintain and show up that way throughout the entire year? Because this happens a lot in programs where maybe they're excited and the juice is right and everybody's ready to go, and that quickly fades off. So we can talk about that in a second. But what are your other thoughts, Sam, on ensuring that coming into the season that you are ready to run your best lap yet?
Yeah, well, there's a tension here. I think the tension is between, maybe this is, you can correct me, but tension's between, hey, I've coached a certain way. There's coaches that are listening that have won a lot of games, won championships. You've done that a lot in your career. And so some things that work really well for you. So the tension is what I've done in the past, I know works. And then versus, okay, where are my blind spots? Where do I need to stay ahead of the curve? Where do I need to grow? And that's something I think we need to talk about. So how do you think through that? Because you do have a new locker room. You'll have some familiar faces in there. You'll have some new ones. But how do you balance between what's worked well and what you need to kind of dissect and maybe analyze and say, you know what, got to do this better?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Me personally, I think of it in terms like this. I should always be getting better. When I'm done getting better, I should be done. But that doesn't mean there aren't things that I've learned over time that are really solid and they don't need to change. And so, for instance, when I think about change and I think about all the things that I haven't done well, and I've shared this with you before, and I heard Mike Neighbors say it, where I don't know if he does it every year, but he's done it in years past, where he wrote down every mistake that he made. And at the end of the season, it was like, I don't know, hundreds of things. And I've done that in multiple seasons, just write down things that I would do different. And as I critique myself and think of things that I could do better, I'm not beating myself up over it, but I'm trying to get better. And every year I find 100+ things that I could have done better than I did the year before. And my goal is to continue to implement and add things so that I do it better than I've ever done it before. Now, I think one of the things that plays in there is, like we do with our key five, the 5 different things, is, you might have certain things in your player development that are really rock solid, you believe in, and you just need to work the system like you've been working it, just get a little bit of a 1% enhancement, make it a little bit better, add a little something to it or whatever. And then there's other areas where you might need major overhauls, where you need some real significant change. For me personally, Sam, and I think this is different for everybody, whether it's in, leadership, whether it's in culture, whether it's in player development or becoming a better teacher or your systems and strategies. When you look at those 5 different categories, I often find that there's so many things that I could do better, particularly in the area of like leadership and culture. And, I think most significant for me is aligns with who I want to be as a coach. And I think this is a big question for coaches to ask themselves. Who do you want to be, and what does a really big win look like for you? And for me, that means like I had the biggest, greatest impact I could have on people's lives. And it is crazy that every year I think I try so hard, and every year I think there's so much more I could do to be impactful as a person and to impact my athletes. And so, one piece of that is coming back rejuvenated and ready to do that. And is this, I referenced the speaker that we heard from earlier, is that he said, I still get nervous talking to the students for the first time. And I think that's a great sign of juice. After 50 years of doing this, you're still nervous to go back out there because you know how important what you do is. And sometimes I think if you just think of it from a basketball perspective and you don't think it's that important, you're just implementing an offense or implementing the defense, then you're not going to bring the juice. You're not going to be rejuvenated, a new sense of energy in what you're about to go do. And so you got to find what things you have rejuvenated your energy in. And I feel every single year, the idea of building a great culture and being a better leader and impacting people more than I've ever impacted, it feels like a gauntlet, but one I'm ready to tackle when I've reduced my batteries.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes to my mind in this conversation is humility. For a coach to be able to self-evaluate and be critical, you got to be humble enough to realize that you might not have the answers, that there might be a better way of doing something, that there might be a better way of coaching this year, that you might have made some mistakes last year that need to be addressed. You might need to do the inner work. We sometimes as coaches are really good at giving critiques and coaching our players, but how many coaches are getting coached up and getting critiqued themselves to improve? It's like we're now a coach and now we need to stop getting better. So that's humility is a big one, TJ. I think, if we shifted the conversation over to like, okay, when do coaches come in with the wrong mindset? When do they have a poor mindset coming in? And that's when, what are the hurdles that coaches face that even in the beginning of the year before they played a game and had taken one L, what's got them trapped? And, we've had some really good friends get out of coaching. They've, some of them for legitimate reasons. And then sometimes they've let their problems be bigger than their passion. And I think you might have said it just a second ago, which is that goes back to why do you coach? And you got to remind yourself why you coach, what's your goal, what's your purpose, so that the problems don't become bigger than your passion for why you coach.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think for a second here, let's talk of practical things coaches can do when they come back into the season to make sure, like you said, that their passion is bigger than their problems. And, I think one of the things that you can do to start this off is just realign with your passions. Like, man, do you still have the juice to do this? Because if we're being really honest about this, there's some people that probably should step away from coaching, that probably should quit coaching because you're really jaded. You don't really want to be there. You're doing it for the 30th time and you're just going through the motions. Your practice is planned around how can I get to the golf course earlier? Or your practice is planned around like, how can there might be a time, there might come that time when you need to step away because you got to that place, or you're just so sick and tired and you think, man, I'm tired of these kids. These kids are changing. They don't listen anymore. They don't, look, if you're that jaded, this lap around the track might not be great. And you might need to say that I don't need to be doing this. I think that's one area of coaches. Then I think there's a second area of coaches where, man, you're just really juiced up. You're just ready to go. You can't wait to tackle it because it is your passion. And I think that that's a great place to be as a coach. And I think that, I know coaches that are in year 2 that are that. And I know coaches in year 50 that are super passionate about being back out there. So I don't think age is a factor. I think you need to decide, hey, am I, and then there's some people that are like, man, there's a series of problems and issues that are kind of killing my juice here. And I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm ready to run this lap as good as I've ever run it. And I think you got to tackle those problems head on and figure out what are those things that are holding me from running this race as good as I possibly can. And so that to me is step one. You know, and you had a great summary there of your passion being greater than your problems. You got to go in with your passion being greater than anything else that might be there. I'm passionate about my opportunity to impact young people. I'm passionate about doing life with great coaches. I'm passionate about teaching the game of basketball. So I'm ready to run a good lap. Now, I don't know I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to do a whole bunch of things wrong, but I'm ready to run a good lap. You know, I think that's the first practical step to making sure that you are ready to go. I think the second step to making sure that you're ready to go in this is having a plan. You know, you can have all the passion and the energy in the world, but you don't really have a plan. You're just ready to go. And I've been around those people and those coaches before, because the ones that have the passion and the plan are the ones that I think carry out the most. Now, your plan might hit roadblocks. You might have to change the plan. But year after year, your plan should get better. You've improved what you did wrong the year before. And then your 30th plan should be better than your first plan. But to me, those are step one and step two is that passion. And I love the quote you said about being greater than your problem. So just finding that passion. And then two, and making sure that your plan gets better every single year.
And then third, I think, I think we've said this, but you got to poke holes in your plan. You got to have other people look at your plan and affirm it, your staff, maybe a mentor, join PGC Coaching. That's not a shameless plug. I think we have an amazing community of coaches. You got to get people around you. I heard this said recently, and it made me really think about it. But it's like somebody said, mentorship is sometimes overrated and peer groups is underrated, meaning sometimes we seek out, we read all the books, watch the videos, we get the mentorship, but we don't apply it. And then peer groups, when you're doing the work and you're getting feedback along with people that are pushing you to become better, so I think we got to also have people around us that are helping us grow, holding us accountable. Coaches are sometimes the most unaccountable group of people. We're good at coaching and critiquing, but we don't always get it. And I think that's what, if you look, TJ, at some of the best coaches, this may take us off subject, so reel me back in, but some of the best coaches, they come in with this growth mindset every year. They adapt to the times. How Nick Saban, wins national championships now, TJ, is different than how he did 20 years ago. Run the ball, low scoring game, and now, strategically, I think he leads different. I think Coach K, I'm talking about a couple college coaches that people may be familiar with that listen to this. So I've said a lot there. Let me recap what I'm saying is surround yourself with people that are going to poke holes in your plan or reaffirm your plan. That's an important piece in the step in the process.
Yeah. And I think another part of that is just being persistent. I think a lot of times when we think about our lap around the track that we're going to run this year, most people come out of the blocks pretty solid. And I think just having persistence to be strong as you can throughout the entire lap is really important. But I just think this is a really underrated thing that coaches don't talk enough about, is that when I think about this with my own children, like this is my first time parenting a 15-year-old, and then my first time parenting a 14-year-old girl, and my first, these are all first for us. And unfortunately in life, we don't get a lot of do-overs. Like, we don't get the opportunity to do it different. We only get to do it once. We only get to be the parent or the son or the sister or the brother one time. And we have to just continue to learn and grow through the entire process. When it comes to coaching a season, the one gift that we get that I think people miss out on more than anything is that we get another do-over. If I think back to 15 years ago, and that was the end of my coaching career, 20 years ago, that was the end of my coaching career, man, I'd be really disappointed. I'd be really disappointed in myself. Like, I didn't have more wisdom. I didn't know how to apply more things. I didn't know But now when I look back at my years now, we have a pretty good gift in the sense that we get to do it again, and we get to do it better than we ever got to do it. And that thing that burnt inside of us, last year can now be refined, and not only can it continue to burn inside of us, it can be better than it was the year before. And that's true of your offense, your defense, like continue to improve that. Like even if the players aren't better, you can coach it and teach it better than you did a year ago. Doesn't mean you're going to have great results, but you can be a better teacher of it this year than you were last year. Same thing with life lessons. You can be a better teacher than you were the year before if you care about those things. And I think that's why it's kind of getting your passions and your desires right first, because if you don't care about it, you're not going to work on them. But if you do care about them, you are given a gift of a do-over every single year to be better at it than you were the year before. And I think coaches miss out on that gift often.
Yeah, it goes back to what we're saying is that requires humility and it requires a thirst to grow and get better. And I like the analogy you're bringing about running around the track. If we run around that track, 30 times, if we choose to see the same things, we'll see the same things. But you might see something on lap number 30 that you didn't see on lap 29. But even to see that, you got to have your eyes open. You got to have your mind open, your heart open to recognize it. It's kind of like watching a movie or reading a book for the second time. You see things that you didn't see the first time. You could read a book, at 21 and read that same book at 31. And you might say at 31, that book was the best book I ever read. But you read at 21, but your heart wasn't ready for it, or maybe your life experience wasn't ready for it. And the only way we can grow is humility and a growth mindset. And so I think that's what I would circle back to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, some more things. I don't think they're necessarily step, but I just want to talk for a few minutes about other ideas that coaches can do to make sure that they run their best lap ever. And I think I've said it multiple times, but going back to the very beginning when the speaker was talking about it, every year they do an opening speech. Every year they do faculty planning. Every year they do organization of offices. Every single year there's the first day of classes. Every year there's a commencement speech. And you go around the circle. And sure, little things change, but you take a lap around the track. And then the next year, you do it again. And you're going to have so many of the same processes. And for us as coaches, it's going to be whether it's tryouts, and then it's going to be building the culture, and then it's going to be developing the players, and it's going to be your first practice, and then it's going to be your first game, and then it's going to be the playoffs. And you're going to take that lap around the track. And just for the coaches that hopefully you were tracking with us, but if you weren't, that's the lap. And you're going to do many of the same things you did the year before. And I'll be honest with you, I think that there's some people that get really tired and stale and burn out of doing that same lap. And they feel like, well, I've done this before. Well, I'm still going to work as hard as I did last year, but my players aren't that good this year. And so, even if we do everything we did last year, we won 20 games, and this year we're only going to win 10. And I think that's a realignment of vision and purpose, because your goal as a coach is to tap out that team, and every single year you're going to have a different team. And if your goal is to tap out that team, your goal is to impact those players, your goal is to be the best version of you, really the pieces and the players don't necessarily matter. You can tap out that team's potential no matter what it is. You can become a better teacher, and you can impact lives despite how good the players are. And so I think it's really hard, in my opinion, for a coach that judges everything by record and winning. Like, I think you could easily get bored going around the track because you're only tied to one desired outcome. And look, I love winning, and my goal is to win. And I want to do all of those things along with the other things that I just mentioned. But I think if you lack a little bit of purpose and your purpose is transactional, the track can get a little bit boring.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you said. Yeah, just knowing your why. And again, we say this often. I'm going to say it every episode is you can want to win and be a transformational coach. Those are not two opposing forces. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think you've got to. There's every part of our lives, as you were saying that, TJ. There's a lot of monotony in parts of our lives. we get married, we get a job, we sleep in the same bed, we sleep in the same house. We have these routines that we do every day. And if you're not careful, routines can get you in a rut. And the way you don't get in a rut is you keep things fresh and you keep striving to grow, and you're gonna, every player is different from last year. And I'm a big Braves fan. I love what Charlie Morton, one of their pitchers, said after last season when they were on the parade and he was standing on the podium at the World Series champion ceremony, and he said, "Never again will this team be together. After today," he said, "this team will never be the same. We'll never have the exact same team together. We'll never have these same personalities. And let's just cherish this moment." And this is coming from a late 30-year-old pitcher who's been around the track several times, and he has a perspective to say, "Gosh, let's just appreciate it for what it is." Sometimes people turn the page and want to talk about, well, can you repeat? Now, I don't know if we can repeat. Let's just enjoy this moment. And so, yeah, I think you gotta be cautious of falling into a routine which gets you into a rut as a coach.
Yeah. I mean, and getting comfortable can cause that. You're just good with your routine. You're not thinking about how to either improve your routine or enjoy your routine more than you did before. And I think we can all be guilty of that. And it made me think about this, Sam, is a lot of times we think that things are going to change our circumstances. And anybody that's been in coaching long enough knows that this isn't true. Everyone that's coached long enough can say, we had a really good winning season, but I didn't really enjoy the journey. And some people can say, we had a great journey, didn't produce the results that we'd hoped for. If you've coached long enough, you've probably been on all of those different types of journeys. And I share this thing with my players every year, and I think it's pretty interesting, but I don't remember it exactly, and I'll have to look it up. Maybe we could do a deeper dive on an episode. But there's a study done on money, and basically it's like there's a certain threshold. Like if your family household income is $60,000 or $70,000, right? If it's above $60,000 or $70,000, or it's below that. Well, below that, I guess would be a place of like, well, we have a lot of financial needs we can't meet, whether that's house, car, food, whatever. We just have financial needs we can't meet. There is a level of discomfort for people, and it affects maybe their happiness and their being. But they also found in the same study that everything over that, whether it was what you were making 75 or you were making 1.5 million, there was no correlation to happiness and things that were going on. And I think it's true with basketball coaches. Just because you have 5 all-state players in your lineup and another coach doesn't have any all-state players in their lineup or whatever it might be, doesn't directly correlate to you having a good, enjoyable season. I think what correlates there is really what you put into the journey and the seeds that you plant, the fruits that come to bear, and the impact that you make, and how far you can actually take that group to reaching their potential. And I think it's much like the money scenario. I think there's people that have won a state championship with 10 transfers that just moved in, and there's some level of lack of reward there. Like, we just had better players than everybody, and we just got there. I didn't really enjoy the journey. We just happened to beat people who had more talent. And there's other people that have had very little talent, and they thought the team couldn't win a game, and they won 6 games, and it was really enjoyable because the team journeyed and it grew and whatever. So I don't think coaches should go into this. I think this is a litmus test for them. If you're going into the season not looking forward to it because you don't think your talent level is high enough, I think you need to reevaluate, reconnect with maybe a different passion. And if you're going in because your team's so good and you're like, golly, I just got to babysit these kids, make sure they don't transfer, and you're not looking forward to it, maybe you need to change something as well. Maybe the journey's not worth it if you're going to have to just babysit and not actually lead and be there. Maybe you're better off not winning those games or winning the championship or pitting those kids through that experience. I don't know. That's different for everybody. But I think it's something to think about. Like, am I excited only when I'm good, or only excited only when I like the players, every single player on my team? Or look, am I excited about, because I think all of them present different challenges, and liking it to the money thing that I just talked about is, yeah, we all need to meet basic needs. Like, we do want to put a team out there that can be competitive and accomplish something. But if you had $1 million or if you had 75, you were just over the threshold. There's no correlation. And I don't think there's any correlation in coaching. I think when you go into coaching, that you could experience any of those feelings, your attitude and your juice and your energy, your desire to run your best lap ever is probably more aligned with how you're going to enjoy and what you're going to get out of the season.
Well, that made me think about something I think about a lot. Greg Popovich is somebody that doesn't do a lot of interviews, so we don't have a lot of content on him, and he doesn't write books and stuff as far as I know. But to see him, TJ, continue to coach the Spurs at his age, and he lost his wife a few years ago, but, they really haven't been relevant since Tim Duncan retired, and they don't really make the playoffs, or they're scratching on the outside a little bit. And that guy, man, continues to coach, and I really respect that. And again, we don't know Popovich personally, and then I hear other guys, which I won't say names. I've heard it, with very successful high school coaches. I've heard NBA coach who's well known say, well, I'm not really looking to go back and rebuild, and I'm ready to coach championship made teams. And again, I don't have a ton of judgment on that. It's just an interesting, to me. I'm built like I want to win, but I also want to earn it. I want to build it. I want to be a part of a plan that brings players and kids along, and it's a journey that we got to fight and claw and scratch and climb a big mountain to get to the top. And I don't want to be, flying on a helicopter and land on the top and then pretend like I worked really hard to get there. And I may be taking us again away from from the main motive of this podcast. But yeah, that triggered a thought when you said that. And I think it does tie in to the mindset, and where is your mindset as a coach, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. I see where you're going with that. I mean, I haven't really thought about it in those terms before, but society doesn't value or lift that up. Like Popovich could have easily won his championships, seen the well run dry, and taken a cush job back as an executive and just walked away and be like, well, he can win championships whenever he wants, and just been lifted up and put on a statue and been like, oh, what an amazing run. This guy went in, but he's sticking it out on the back end when the well is dry and the cabinets are empty and things aren't going good. Now, that won't get a lot of play, and that won't get a lot of love in today's society. Me as a coach, I respect the heck out of that. Like, he could have just walked away. He could have just, been done. And year after year after year, he keeps coming back. He keeps competing. He keeps trying, keeps putting together the best team they can. And look, however long, 7, 8, 9 years ago, we would have said Greg Popovich is the greatest basketball coach there is right now, and then fast forward 5 years and people are like barely mentioning his name as this coach that's great. Now, we all think as coaches, we all respect and we all know what a great job he does and how good he is, what he is, but that society doesn't, they quickly forget about you. And I think there is equal praise in the fact that this guy hasn't run when it's gotten hard. He's kept competing. And I liken that to what you were talking about, saying he's probably got a deeper why. You know what I mean? He's probably passionate. He probably is ready to run another lap around the track because he has a deeper why and a deeper passion. So, hey, coaches, I hope that this may help you just thinking about going into your season, just to run the best lap that you've ever run and keep running great laps. That's what this profession needs. That's what we need from coaches in all sports and teachers. You're going back into teaching your class again. Like, look, are you going to run the best lap? Is this the best English 101 you've ever taught? Is this the best? Like, we need that out of people. And we all know the other side of that. Look, I have in the past and probably still do work with people that it's like, I'm teaching math for the 25th year. Let me just roll out these notes that I got from the year. Like, what does that do for our children? How does that change society? Like, are they going to fall in love with math because you're running your 25th lap and you're bored and you're just giving them the stuff? Like, they're going to learn more from how you show up and what you bring and what you deliver and the lessons that you teach them than they are going to be the handouts that you've handed out for the 25th straight year. And so no matter what your profession is, even if it's not in coaching, like, go run a good lap this year. Like, make this a really special year. Make this one of the best laps you've ever run. And so we hope you can get rejuiced. So we'd love to hear your thoughts at Hardwood, at _Hardwood Hustle. And we look forward to the next time. We look forward to talking more hoops with you soon. So he is Sam, I am TJ, and this is the Hardwood Hustle.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hardwood Hustle, where we believe in the value of a coach. We'd also love for you to join us at one of our fall PGC coaching clinics or Read and React workshops. We have 6 locations to choose from. Go to pgcclinics.com for more information. That's pgcclinics.com. From the Hardwood Hustle team, thanks again. We can't wait to be with you again next week.